First Peak and Cocoa Beach. What if we did it on purpose? Throughout the world, there are many man-made surfing waves, and most of them share one thing in common. They were built entirely on accident. Today, we want to introduce to you the science behind one of the world's most famous accidental surfing waves, and show you how we can utilize this technology to create a similar surfing wave in Cocoa Beach, Florida. Right now, Cocoa Beach is considering ways to revitalize downtown, and a new municipal pier is one of the options. Our idea is to design a purpose-built surfing pier that creates a fun, high-performance surfing wave, just like First Peak, which is shown in this picture. There is a ton of information on the internet about First Peak and Sebastian Inlet, and I encourage everyone to check out the articles on Surfline and on the Sebastian Inlet Tax District's website. For starters, what makes First Peak such a great surfing wave? This is First Peak. Something unique is happening here that makes this wave such an impressive surfing wave. Let's break down the process like this. This picture shows an incident, or normal wave, heading towards the beach. Now look closely under the white water. What you will see is a proportionately smaller wave combining with the incident wave. This is a reflected wave coming from the jetty in the background. When the incident wave and reflected wave join together, we get the peak seen here. To get waves like First Peak to occur, we need two main conditions to be satisfied. We call these conditions the reflection driving factors. The first driving factor is the orientation of the jetty relative to the shoreline. Notice in the image on the left that the north jetty at Sebastian Inlet is rotated southerly. The majority of coastal structures, including jetties, have been built going straight offshore, perpendicular to the shoreline, which isn't good for reflection. Sebastian Inlet was built different. The second driving factor is the quality of the reflective surface, because the waves need something to bounce off. Again, Sebastian Inlet is unique in this regard. Let's talk a little more about the first driving factor. The north jetty forms an oblique angle with the shoreline of about 30 degrees. Oblique angle is a popular coastal term synonymous with acute angle. This rotation or orientation of the jetty gives the structure a surface for the waves to reflect from. An analogy would be trying to play tennis with a stick. You wouldn't be able to hit the ball properly without the racket's surface. Here's what the reflection looks like in action. The red lines represent incident waves traveling towards the beach. The waves hit the angled jetty and reflect. The yellow lines show reflected waves traveling down the beach. The point where the incident waves and reflected waves intersect creates First Peak. Notice in this example, we show two incident waves and two reflected waves. This represents wave sets. In this case, we're actually seeing First Peak occur twice. The most important thing to remember is that an oblique coastal structure is needed to cause reflection. Now for some surfing science. Reflected waves tend to travel down the beach at the complementary angle of the oblique structure. In this case, they travel at 60 degrees to the shoreline. This reflection phenomenon replicates something wave scientists refer to as peel angle. Therefore, fundamentally, wave reflection helps transform regular waves into good surfing waves that have favorable peel angles. Pretty cool. The second driving factor is the quality of the reflective surface itself. In other words, how well does the structure reflect wave energy? Most coastal structures are piles of rock. When the waves hit these structures, the water enters all of the voids and open spaces, thereby dissipating the wave energy. We get no reflection. However, at Sebastian Inlet, the north jetty has a valuable reflective surface made up of a combination of pilings, rocks, marine critters, and worm rock. By sheer luck, this surface acts to reflect wave energy. To recap, to recreate waves like First Peak, we need 1. An oblique structure, and 2. We need this structure to have a quality reflective surface. Now, let's talk about applying this technology in Cocoa Beach. In the top right, we see a typical pier constructed straight offshore. This has no reflective potential. In the top left, we see a conceptual pier proposed in downtown Cocoa Beach. Along the bottom, we see another view of the downtown site. See the empty lot? Let's now think about piers in terms of the two driving factors. First, piers are built straight offshore, so there is no oblique surface for reflection. And second, the pier pilings are spaced too far apart, so there is no real reflective surface. To make a pier that also creates great surfing waves, we need to integrate the two driving factors into its design. Here's an example of what a great surfing pier in Cocoa Beach would look like. We begin by building a pier with a jog in the structure. For demonstration purposes, we're showing a 30-degree jog to borrow shamelessly from our neighbor Sebastian. A quick technical note for those of you who are keen on wave signs. Sebastian Inlet jogs to the south, which makes First Peak a right-handed surfing wave. In this conceptual image, we're showing the pier jogging to the north, which would create a left-handed surfing wave. A little more on that later. The present proposal for the Cocoa Beach Municipal Pier is to construct it being 1,301 feet long, making it the longest pier on the East Coast. We can still make it the longest pier on the East Coast and incorporate a surfing feature. The jog would start offshore, where we would expect to find knee to waist-high waves, and continue offshore into a water depth where we would find head-high to overhead waves. A little more on this later as well. Here's a closer view of the jogged section. Now we apply driving factor number 2. We need to augment a quality reflective surface into the pier's design to reflect the incident wave energy. Here's another view of the reflective surface from underwater. The reflective surface would be made up of a series of detachable 4-foot high panels placed right in the sweet spot where we would want to reflect the wave energy. Here's a view from the shoreline. The jog on the pier creates a unique observation area to check out the sunrise, sunset, and of course, the surfing. To make this project a reality, we need to get the city of Cocoa Beach, which means all of us, interested in a feasibility study. Here are some of the things we need to consider. A physical model. With enough public support, we may be able to get the Army Corps of Engineers to help out with this. We will need to test the structure's response to a variety of conditions, storms, and other swell events. We need to design this pier using the best construction practices available today to ensure that everything is made safe and built according to code. We'll have to study the shoreline response and make sure we aren't creating erosion. I'll let you in on a little secret. We think the reflective waves may help build up the beach a little if it is designed correctly. We're currently looking into this more. We'll be creating a new habitat for marine species, and we want to make sure everything is ecologically sound. Earlier in the presentation, I kept saying, a little more on that later. That was in reference to optimization. We need to make sure the design is great. For example, maybe a 20-degree jog will work better than a 30-degree jog. All of this will be flushed out during optimization. Finally, we need the surfing pier to be within the budget awarded to Cocoa Beach. It may look like a laundry list of things to remember, but if we decide to build a classical pier in downtown Cocoa Beach, we'll need to go through most of these steps anyway. What's wrong with going the extra mile to include surfing from the inception? Remember the slogan? What if we did it on purpose?
And nowadays, we can do this on purpose, because we have the tools and knowledge to do so. For example, on the left, we've used Army Corps software to model waves interacting with a classical pier. This is the same software that the Corps utilizes to design jetties, beach nourishment projects, and other coastal projects. When we plugged our surfing pier into the same wave simulation, we started to see peaks. These peaks represent man-made, purpose-built surfing waves.
If we do decide to go the extra mile, we all might enjoy some really interesting benefits. This would be the world's first purpose-built coastal pier to create surfing waves. Because this would be the world's first surfing pier, the market reach would be global. Surfing contests are major productions and they're broadcasted live around the world via the web. Plus, they're great sporting events for everyone. Don't forget that the surfing pier will still enjoy many of the benefits of a classical pier. The total effect of this new surfing pier would not only benefit Cocoa Beach, but help to enhance the country, state, and region. This isn't a stretch of the imagination, as we already see First Peak garnishing worldwide attention. Which brings us to a very interesting point. All over the world, distinguished groups have been researching the economic benefits of surfing waves in terms of real dollars. Granted, these valuations are utilized to protect surfing waves from development projects, as these numbers represent the potential economic loss if these waves were to somehow be ruined or destroyed. But this sparks an interesting question. If the forfeiture of a surfing wave represents millions of dollars in economic loss, how much economic gain would a man-made surfing wave produce if it was created? The Cocoa Beach Municipal Pier, built to include a great surfing wave on purpose, is a promising opportunity, but it won't happen without public support, and it won't happen without your support. If you have any questions about the presentation, please share them with us and post them to our Facebook page. Check out our website at www.firstpeak.org, and you can also send us an email at reflection@firstpeak.org. And whether you're in the Cocoa Beach area or not, please email the Cocoa Beach City Commissioners at the website shown above. Tell them how much you want to see a project like this happen. We look forward to hearing from you, and we thank you for your time.